Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I want to continue learning more skills. I want to go towards like the business side of like the industry. Since I've been an engineer, learning the engineering side out, now I want to go into like the business side, or maybe going out trying to promote our business, trying to find more clients, finding more work, seeing how I can impact on the shipping industry. Maybe not just doing like the standard making drawings all day, calculations, but like venturing out and trying to expand the business to make it grow.
Have you always had that kind of ability to want to go out and do sales and do more of like the business people side of things?
I would say it developed over time. Coming out of college, I was pretty comfortable with my job, almost doing the same thing. Now that I have that as my background, I know the industry. So it's a good way to challenge myself to see what else I could improve on. Because being an engineer, I don't want to be complacent at the same spot. I want to keep motivating myself to do more, to do better. So I think having a goal in mind or having some type of like challenge is always makes it more fun, more worthwhile to go to work.
What advice do you have for anyone that might be interested in a job like yours?
First off, finish college. I know that when I first started, I think one of like the dean said, look to your left, look to your right. One of those two people won't be there when you graduate college. And that's really true. Starting off as a freshman, there's always weed out classes where you're either going to make it or you're not going to make it. I think if you just continue to try hard in school, study, you could have fun, but just always put your books as a priority, because having that education, that degree is going to put you in the right doorstep of many opportunities. My advice is if you have a goal in mind, drive towards it and ask for help. If you need assistance with work, whatever, don't be afraid to ask for help.
Would you say that advice applies to college too? Like as far as asking for help, like using professors and TAs and stuff like that?
Yeah, for sure. Spending those extra time going to asking TAs, making study groups with like your good friends, or finding good classmates to study with, to hang out with. I think those are all really important factors.
And I only say that because I noticed that in college as well, that when I started asking TAs and professors for more help going to their office hours and stuff, I found that I was able to do better, like grade-wise.
Yeah, for sure.
Are there things that some people are surprised to learn about your job?
I think when I worked for like the shipyard, they're all surprised, like, oh, you work on a nuclear submarine. That's pretty fancy, pretty crazy stuff. They're always surprised, like, oh, you work for the Department of Defense. You have the clearance and everything. So I think those are all like surprises to my friends who like went to college with me and things like that. I think on a bigger picture, it's cool for them to see like the final product. Sometimes like I'll think, oh yeah, I helped design this ship. So they're like, oh, what did you do? I mean, I guess it's always a good like topic of conversations of what I did and what I did part of like the design. So that's always cool to see.
Was there any big difference between designing like ships and barges and designing like a nuclear sub?
A nuclear submarine is a lot more strict. Washington, D.C., like headquarters, everything is like really, really strict because it's dealing with like the Department of Defense. So with like commercial ships, they act a lot more lenient.
That kind of makes sense, I guess, if you're dealing with a nuclear sub, to be super specific and super like by the book, everything needs approval type thing.
Yeah, even like the thread count on a bolt needs to be correct.
So you were saying that you needed special clearance to work for the Department of Defense, like on the nuclear subs and stuff like that. How was that background check? You needed character references and other stuff like that, right?
Yeah, it took, I think, anywhere from 6 months to 9 months to get my full secret clearance. They would have to interview my friends growing up. They went all the way back to my grandparents. It's a long process. It adds value to yourself once you get it, because if you do end up leaving like the shipyard, there's a lot of other jobs who requires that clearance to even like get your foot in the door. So that always helps out.
So that security government clearance level, you don't have to do it again. If you go to a different employer that requires it, you can just say, yes, I have security clearance.
Yeah. So I had a security clearance and it was valid for 10 years. But if it's inactive for like 2 years, I think it just goes away. So as long as you keep it up, then you carry that clearance over to your next job that requires a clearance. And it saves the company a lot of money. That's why a lot of companies would want you to already have that clearance before they even hire you, so that they could prevent all the time and cost and saving them the money to do it again.
I've actually had 2 friends that went to work for aerospace companies, needed security clearance, and so I would have these people from the government come out, be like, yeah, we're going to sit down. So twice I had to sit in coffee shops with these people, and they asked me all sorts of questions about my friends, and some of them are kind of silly, like you laugh at them, but they explain, like, no, these questions, they may sound ridiculous, but we need to ask them, we need to do diligence on these people.
Exactly, yep.
Now, were there any specific classes that you really enjoyed in school?
I really like mathematics, so I took AP calculus, both of them in high school. got credit for it. And I just really like multivariable and differential equations. I ended up getting a math minor because I really like math. For me, I was good at it. Math courses was something that I really did enjoy, but also like the physics was always something that I enjoyed in high school and I carried that in college. So those are my favorite classes, or like dynamic statics, those type of classes.
I liked all those classes as well. Did you take a class called numerical methods? Each college calls it a different class, but basically where you learn the math behind what the FEA is doing and all that stuff.
I believe I took that course.
How did you care for that? Because that was like the one math course I just didn't care for. I kind of struggled with that one.
I think I did well. I think there's one course I had a tough time in math was Introduction to Proof, proving like theorems and things like that. So that was another like level of thinking that always challenged me.
I've seen those classes too. I've never taken one, but I've always looked at them and said, wow, that looks like it would be very challenging. Yeah, because in math, I hated when they went through. They're like, all right, we're just going to prove this theory before. I'm like, I don't care, dude. You tell me it's true, I believe you.
Yep.
Now, were there any specific classes that you hated in school?
I was never a good programmer. In high school, I think I was a programming class. I wasn't too good at it, like taking C++, taking MATLAB. I was always jealous of my friends who understood it so fast, but it would take me hours and hours to do a certain project, and they could do it in like 5 minutes. I'm like, oh man, how am I missing this? How could they catch my mistakes so easily? Programming would be something that I did not like that much in college.
That's interesting because you say that, but yet you develop some of these MATLAB codes to translate your Excel spreadsheet into GHS. Yeah. So have you gotten better at it? Do you enjoy it more now or no?
Well, maybe now I'm forced to learn it to do my job. I guess back then I didn't care for it too much. I just knew I didn't like it. Now that it's like part of my job, I have to like learn it, and now we're getting paid for it, so it makes it a little bit easier too.
Would you say that you still don't really enjoy that part of it?
Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah, I'm actually in the same boat as well. It's funny because I feel like we have all these similarities. Well, yeah, I was not the guy that was good at coding at all. I was not good at MATLAB. I just wasn't good at any of the programming stuff, and it stays because I kind of wanted to be, but I just wasn't for some reason. Are there any certifications or licenses that are useful to get for your job? Now, I know you had mentioned the security clearance, but are there any other certifications or licenses that are useful?
I would recommend students getting their EIT right off the bat. The longer you wait after that, then you start losing what you learn in college. So that's something that's really important. Some jobs require it. I mean, my job doesn't, but it always looks nice if you have PE behind your name. So I would definitely recommend students who are graduating or sign up for the FE exam immediately and so just get that thing out of the way.
That's actually what I did as well. I took the FE exam or the EIT exam, I think a week after I graduated.
Yeah, don't wait.
Yeah, because if you wait, you're going to kind of forget some of the stuff you learned, and it gets harder as time goes on. Do you have your PE or no?
No, I did not.
Now, did other people in your degree program end up with a job similar to yours, or did they get jobs that were really different?
There were some people who right after college got jobs within the shipyard. So the shipyard is pretty widespread. So they were hiring a lot when I was graduating. But I've also had friends who went in the aerospace industry. Had people end up getting their MBA, getting their master's in engineering. So my friends were all spread out through various industries, automotive industry. I know that a majority of us who graduate all together learn our job skills on the job itself.
Now, was there a strong possibility of having to relocate to find work in your field after school was over?
Fortunately for me, no. I went to Virginia Tech, and we had a really good on-campus recruiting program. So a lot of companies would actually come recruit our engineers twice a year. So finding a job when I went to school back in the day, it was fairly easy. And I was fortunate. I had a few offers right after college, but I chose to stay. I didn't have to relocate because I chose my location of where I wanted to apply. So back then, I think it was much easier than it is now with the pandemic and COVID going on.
Do you have any recommendations for things like that, like job fairs where recruiters are there from different companies and everything?
I would definitely recommend going to them, taking advantage. Especially if your school is holding them, I would definitely recommend, getting a suit, looking professional, walking around with your resume. And of course, it's nervous in the beginning going to one of those job fairs for the first time, but over time you get used to it. I would say just get as many interviews as possible because it's always good practice to talk about yourself. I did so many of them that I got really, really used to talking.
Now, would you say that it's easy or hard to find work in your field right now?
It's tough. I would say it's tougher right now because the shipping industry, with COVID going on, I know that a lot of companies are cutting back. Even oil and gas is not doing so great right now. Right now it's more of a challenge to find a position.
Before COVID, how would you have answered that question though?
Before COVID, I think the market was still going good. The shipping industry was going strong.
Now, do you ever have to do any traveling for your job?
Yes, there's been times where I would travel for months at a time, going to various shipyards, supporting work. Shipyards all around the United States, Hawaii, San Diego, Seattle, and sometimes they're overloaded with work, so they would require engineers to go out there supporting projects for months at a time. So I would have to travel, and also doing like ship checks, basically like going on a submarine or a Navy ship, make sure that the work's being done properly.
How often would you have to go on those work trips?
Collectively, probably 3 years traveling.
And how long were you there for, like, working?
I probably spent a collectively of like 2 years in Charleston, South Carolina. I was spending like 3 months at a time. It depends on like the project.
Probably spend like half your time traveling, would you say?
I would say, yeah, half. Since I was like a new engineer, I was more flexible. There's also certain engineers who don't want to travel because they already had a family at that point. I was so young, but I wanted to be able to go out and travel and experience new cities. And of course, everything's paid for, so it's always fun.
Again, we have a lot of similarities here. Same exact thing with me when I first started. I was like, ooh, I'll travel, I'll go. And actually, even up until I left, even up until that point, even with my wife and kids and stuff, I was still like, hey, babe, are you okay with this? The traveling kind of really breaks up the monotony of going to work every day. It's just a different environment. Do you mind telling us how much you make? $115 currently. Start off making $49. I've also been in the industry for a while.
Now, do you work with other people that have a similar education background to yours? And if so, what do they do? Does their job differ a lot from yours?
I work with other naval architecture. I work with other engineers or like electrical engineers. There are certain things that I don't know, so I would have to go ask electrical engineers, or things I don't know structurally, I would go ask like structural engineers. Majority of us, we all went to college. We know like the basic fundamentals.
Yeah.
You work with other engineers, maybe it's just different discipline of engineering.
Now, if you had to like break your work day or your work week or your work month down into a graph, what percentage of time would you spend doing certain things?
I would say 20% meetings, meeting clients, meeting your boss, getting together with like your coworkers. The rest would be like tabulations, the graphs, the programming, the designing would be like the basic fundamentals of the job. That'd probably be like 70%. Maybe 10% would be like on-job inspection, go and do like the ship check, verifying the drawings are correct on the ship and things like that would be like the final 10%.
Now, was there anything that you did in college or high school that you would recommend other people do?
Definitely challenge yourself to take the tougher courses in high school, the AP courses. Have an advantage of taking like the AP courses and bringing that to college, even if you don't get credit for it. Challenging yourself younger will set you up better in college.
Were there any classes, activities, or books that made an impact in your professional life?
I joined a few organizations throughout college just to meet more people. I joined like an Asian American group. I joined like an engineering group. I think it's always good to meet other people, especially when you're in college. It's always good to have like connections, and it's always cool to keep up with them post-college. I met a friend in college, and I'm looking for a job, and I realized, when I went to college, I worked there. Let me reach out to him, and maybe he could put me in a connection down the road. It's always good to build a big connection. It will definitely benefit you.